You want to bite?
I'm good. Hopefully that's not what's for dinner.
Would you guys like some?
For those that can't tell, that's a chicken, but you're disgusting.
Why do we have chicken feet? Are you curious? And why am I holding it? What are we doing with it? And why is it important that you get some too?
Let's talk about those chicken feet. They're pretty weird. Honestly, it's the weirdest thing when we started getting this holistic eating for health thing. It's one of the weirdest things we saw. We're like, no way, never buying chicken feet, never gonna do chicken feet. You people crazy. You are way too out there.
In fact, the first time we saw someone really make bone broth, he looked at me and goes, "Hey, honey, want to get some chicken feet?" I went, "Yeah, I don't think so. That's disgusting."
I want to touch them.
And he's like,
gross.
He was even like, yeah, it is kind of gross. Like that's a little far.
That's a few steps past my comfort zone.
We've gone a little far now.
Well, my comfort zone is expanded. It's much bigger than it used to be. Why do you think back in the day, or even still, people say, if you're sick, what do they tell you to eat? Soup. They tell you to eat soup. And do you think they tell you to eat soup because you can eat the chicken or the vegetables? No.
Or the noodles? No.
No.
And, like, I used to think, too, that, like, I always thought it was kind of weird. Like, why soup? Other than the fact that, like, your throat might hurt. Easy. Like, if you have the flu and it comes back up, it's not gonna... It's gonna be more comfortable. Like I was like, why soup?
Comfortable, I guess, going down if your throat's sore, right. And it's not gonna scratch anything, like tear up your throat or your mouth.
But like, really, what's the obsession? Like, why not ice cream? Why not a protein shake? Why not any other smoothie?
French fries or
why not just something
hamburger.
Different? Right. Yeah. So as we started to learn about bone broth, we learned about the benefits of it and the huge health benefits. And if you go back and think. Yeah, if you think about like our great-great-grandparents and stuff, they couldn't go and get Campbell's. They couldn't go to the grocery store and just pick up soup. They had to make their own bone broth.
Right.
And so the reason that it was originally recommended is because of the nutrients that's in it.
Right.
Summer's coming up where a lot of people get heat stroke and stuff like that. The electrolytes in bone broth is insane. The skin benefits from the collagen, which is what comes from the chicken feet, is absolutely amazing. It helps with your gut lining.
Right.
If you have IBS or Crohn's disease or just leaky gut syndrome, just stomach issues, which if you have gut issues and just your stomach just doesn't seem normal, those may be things you want to look into, things that you may have that a regular doctor doesn't know how to heal and cure other than just giving you medication. This stuff can heal it. This can really aid in your gut health and giving you more of a normal lifestyle. Lance has really struggled with gut issues and it's really helped him with that.
It has. I definitely feel a lot better now after starting drinking bone broth. We used to, when we first started doing bone broth, we've been doing it for like a year and a half now. It's the first time we started making bone broth. And what we did was like, we had a Thanksgiving turkey and we just kept the bones, we made bone broth.
Right.
And so we made some turkey soup with it afterwards and made some other soups with it, froze it, and then we had some chickens, and we made some chicken, and now we started buying bones, and obviously, as you see, we bought chicken feet. So we found, and now we don't use.
We've improved our recipe, that's for sure.
Yes, it was. We were at the lower end, and now we've raised the bar because we actually started buying grass-fed beef bones and pasture-raised chicken bones and pasture-raised chicken feet.
Right.
So we bought all of this. These products are so much better.
It's not always just about getting the nutrients into there. You want to get the strongest, the best quality, the most natural you can find. In fact, our recipe is improved. I think the first time I made it, I just used bones, water, apple cider vinegar, and like salt, and it tasted terrible. But we put it in mason jars, we put it in the freezer, and we would just make soup with it, and that's kind of how we started. But now we've improved our recipe to where it tastes like a really good like chicken noodle soup, like the
broth.
Well, better than that. It's not going to be Campbell's, that's for sure. Way better.
Yeah.
You can add extra herbs and stuff for flavor. We actually make buttered bone broth, so we have a few things we add at the end of it after it's done cooking and everything. So we'll share that with you guys. But
basically, we use that as a meal. It's a meal.
Right, it is a meal for us. That's what breaks our fasting from our nighttime fasting that goes into our intermittent fasting for the day.
Yeah.
So we want to get those nutrients into our body first thing, and we want that to be the first thing that goes in and coats our lining of our gut, and so our body just sucks up all those nutrients in order to make sure that our bodies are the healthiest and best they can be.
Right.
So I think, do we have anything else to add?
No, just be open-minded.
Yes.
Trust me, I know it is weird. We are not those weird, freaky people. I mean,
maybe we are.
Everyone's a little bit weird and freaky, right? But we're not like the way out there weird people. Like, it's just, it is. We found the health benefits of it.
Right.
Just, you can't deny it. So, and you don't have to listen to us. Google knows everything, so if you Google it, it'll tell you.
Yeah, there's beginning to be a lot more information out there about it. And if things like the chicken feet freak you out, don't start with that. Like you said,
don't have to use them.
Take a turkey or a chicken, and just keep your bones from it. As soon as you're done cooking it, throw it in your Instapot or your crock pot. There's you can use either one. You could even do it on the stove. A lot of people use Instapot or crock pot.
Because it's a lot faster.
Yeah, and you don't necessarily have to watch it. Feel like you have to watch it as much.
Right.
So we'll kind of give you the information on how long to do it for each one. But if you are weirded out by the chicken feet and some of the ingredients and you're missing some of the things, it's fine.
Right.
Like, start from where you can and like do what you can with what you have, and like go on and add a little bit more as time goes on. We didn't start off going hardcore like this.
Chicken feet.
Yes, we started off just by helping, like adding small holistic things in our lives, and then we're going to keep learning. We're going to keep improving. We don't know it all, but this is where we're at, and we want to share it with you guys. Okay. All right, let's get started on a bone broth recipe. First, I'm going to go through and show you guys all of the ingredients I have, and then we will get started on actually going on it. So I'm going to start over here. The first 3 things we have are mostly for flavor. So we have celery, about 4 stalks of them, 4 to 5 stalks. Carrots, which I usually use about a cup of carrots. This is a little bit less. This is just all that I had today, but that will work just fine because, again, it's for the flavor. And then I have some fresh rosemary here. Mine is actually dried out some. You can use fresh, your own dried, or you can just use your seasoned that you have in your cabinet. Next, we have ginger. This is what I've cut up to use so far, and this is just what I had cut off from. You're going to use a piece about the size of your thumb. So I'm going to compare, here's my turmeric that I'm going to use. That's about the size of my thumb. That's about, my ginger was a little bit bigger than that, and that's what you want for that. We're going to come over here and we have our dreaded chicken feet that have wonderful health benefits. Obviously we need our pot to cook it in. This is my Instapot pot. There's a little bit of water in it from earlier. We have our bones. I have half marrow bones, half beef bones. I think there's probably 1.5 pounds here. Maybe 2 pounds. I have garlic, which I usually use about 4 cloves of garlic. Apple cider vinegar. Salt. Pepper. And then here's our turmeric. I have the bagged powdered kind and also the fresh kind. This is what I've always used for my bone broth, but now that I have fresh available to me, this is what I will be using as long as I can get my hands on it. Again, about the size of my thumb. I'll have one purple or white onion. And then this is to add afterwards. You can either use just straight grass-fed cow butter or ghee, which is kind of basically the same thing, but those are 2 different options you can use, and then coconut oil as well. Okay, so what else you'll need is you're going to need some measuring spoons. You're going to need a tablespoon measuring spoon for your vinegar, and if you're using the powdered turmeric, you're going to need about a teaspoon of that. You don't want to add too much of that because it will almost make your bone broth kind of mustard flavored. But a teaspoon is about perfect.
We've made that mistake before.
We've made that mistake before and had it be very strong. So I would recommend
measuring.
you measure that. All right, so then obviously you'll need a knife and a cutting board. Okay, so let's talk about the celery. I'm gonna add this in first. Here's the thing, these ends that are here, that you usually cut off and throw away, don't do that. There's still nutrients in them, they're good. We usually don't eat them just because the end of it's kind of dry and I don't know, a lot of times it just doesn't look good to us. So, but we're just using it for flavor. It's actually gonna be, we're gonna strain it out later, so keep those ends. So I'm gonna dump in my celery, about 4 to 5 stalks, into my pot. Then next I'm going to add in my carrots and ginger. I'm going to dump in my chicken feet. Those are going to go in. I'm going to add my bones. And again, mine are frozen. That's totally fine. Just put them in there. Apple cider vinegar. I like to shake it up to kind of get some of the mother out of the bottom of it. And I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of this. 1, 2. I'm going to grab my turmeric and you're just going to slice it up. Drop that in there. Now I'm going to add some salt right now. Here's the thing, when you're done cooking your bone broth, you're going to want to add a significant amount of salt to get to taste. Because if not, you'll be like, this tastes weird. But what it's missing is salt. It does need some for cooking it, but a majority of it's going to be added at the end. I don't ever measure this. I don't have an exact amount. I'm really bad about the fact that I only buy ground salt, so it's kind of hard to measure. I've thought about the fact every time I go to cook something, I'm like, why don't I just buy a bag of salt that is not in a grinder? We'll make an effort for that later. Pepper, same thing. The pepper's there to help your turmeric absorb. Some people just add in like 2 or 3 peppercorns. I grind it in. So grind that for a little bit. Get a few strokes in there of it, and then you should be good to go. Again, don't forget, if you're using the powdered turmeric, you're going to put a teaspoon of that in there. Just a teaspoon. We are going to add in some rosemary, and I'm just going to break some of this off. I actually haven't done this in a long time, but this is something we're just going to add for flavor. Again, this can kind of just be whatever amount you want. If you'd like, if it's your first time making it, you may just want to skip this and see how it tastes, and then you can adjust it as time goes on. But we're just looking for something a little bit different. Again, this is kind of a replacement as what most people's morning coffee would be. If you're a coffee drinker, you don't have to replace your coffee, but drink this first. So we want a variation in what we're having there. All right. So I put that in. Now I'm going to take my garlic. So here's the thing with your garlic. Normally you'd have to go through, like for a normal recipe, and pull out your paper off, that sort of thing. Here's what I do. I break it in half. You want to look and make sure there's no mold there, no black marks or anything like that. It'll be clear if there's mold there. You'll see it. This is what we're going to do. You're going to put it down, and we're literally just going to cut it up, paper and all. Okay, the reason we're doing that is that all of this is going to be strained out the end. Obviously, since it's broth, we're not keeping the bones. The vegetables are for flavor. The turmeric's for health benefits, stuff like that. If you use the powder, the turmeric powder will stay in there. Obviously, that's fine. But all this is going to be cleaned out, so the paper, I guess it's not paper, but the outside of both your garlic and your onion being in there are completely fine. You do want to break them open so you have the health benefits, but the paper's going to stay. So, onion, we're just going to cut off the ends of it. chop it up. I don't know if you guys can hear a thunderstorm going on out there, but if you do, that's what's happening. It is raining. I don't think dogs are supposed to have onions, but maybe it'll be good for his gut.
He ate it.
All right, here we go. Woo!
What's wrong?
I hate cutting up onions, but thankfully I don't have to peel the paper off first. So it gets my eyes watering. Who else? Here's my question. Who else hates cutting up onions? If you do, comment below, because they absolutely kill me every single time. All right, that's all we're gonna put in there. You can see our pot here. Okay, so now we're gonna take our pot and we're just gonna fill it up with water. So we're just gonna fill it up to the max fill line. Okay, once you've filled your pot with water, we're going to take and put it in your Instant Pot, a crock pot, or put it on your stove. Now, if you're going to do it in your Instant Pot, you're going to do it for 160 minutes. If you're going to do it in your crock pot, you're going to want about 8 hours going on high heat. And then on the stove, you probably want to go about 12 hours. Well, that's why a lot of people like to use the Instant Pot or the crock pot, because it's a lot faster. And a lot of people don't like leaving their stove on, myself included. So we're just going to stick it in the pot and get it going. Make sure we're sealed. Our time's set for 160 minutes, and we're going to let it go. Good morning. It is the next day here on our gut healing bone broth recipe. So what I did is I cooked mine in the Instapot, as you guys saw, and I put mine in kind of later in the evening, so it finished cooking right before I went to bed. So all I did is I shut it off, I unplugged it, just because that's what I do with my appliances and stuff. I don't like to leave them plugged in, and I just let mine cool overnight. So now it's done, it's the morning, and we are ready to complete the process for it. So all I'm gonna do is open it up here, and as you can see, if we take a look in here, you can see that everything is cooked up and ready to go. So here we have it. You can see all our vegetables and everything are cooked up, and everything is kind of, for the most part, sunk to the bottom other than the onions. So we're going to take this out and we're going to carry it over to the sink. Okay, so I've brought my main pot over to the sink. For this recipe, it's honestly best that you have 3 pots. If you have 3 pots, that's awesome. If not, you can make do with 2, but you're going to need at least 2. So I have my second pot here with a strainer. Now this strainer has very small holes, and you're going to want something that is very fine and doesn't have a lot of gaps in it. The reason you're going to want to have a strainer that is very fine and does not have very big holes in it is, keep in mind, we are sifting bones out of this. If you're using chicken feet, it's going to be especially important, because on those chicken feet are chicken toenails. You don't want to find one of those in the bottom of your cup. So make sure you have a good strainer. You want to make sure it has small holes. I like the metal ones the best. I never recommend plastic if possible. Stick with metal, and that way you can get the best use out of it and make sure everything's strained really well, and the best health benefits if you're not putting any of the chemicals from the plastic inside your body. So now we're going to pour our bone broth into our pot with our strainer. Next, we're going to carefully lift it out. Let the remainder of the bone broth kind of run out. And we're going to pour this all right back into our original pot. So now you're gonna have a big pile of bones and vegetables, but wait, stop right there. Don't throw those bad boys away. We're not done with them yet. Go ahead, hold on to them, save them. Just wait a minute, okay? Trust me. So here's our pot full of our bones. As you take a look here, you'll see these are our marrow bones. A good majority of the marrow is gone out of them, which means all of those nutrients right there are now in here. You're going to notice that this does have an oily-like substance to it. Even when I stick my spoon in there, you can see it's kind of left on there. That's good. We want that. That thick oil-like substance that is on the top of your bone broth, that's good. That's our collagen. That's a lot of our nutrients. That's what we want. Now, as your bone broth cools, it is going to turn kind of into like a jelly-like substance. You'll have this kind of thick layer going across the top. Now, when you heat it up, whether you do it on the stove, the microwave, however it's done, it is going to mix back in. You can stir it up. It will become a liquid again, and you won't have to worry about if you have any texture issues or anything. So we want to talk about the fact that we have these bones left still. So there's still nutrients left in them. I'm not going to put that to waste. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill that pot with water again. I'm going to add 2 more tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and I'm going to pop that back in the Instant Pot again for 160 minutes, and I'm going to let that roll. Once my pot of bone broth that we have here is cooled off a little bit, mine's completely cooled, you may be home and may be ready and may not be doing yours overnight, and it may still be kind of warm. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add about a half a stick of ghee to it, ghee or grass-fed butter, and I'm also going to add about a quarter to a half a cup of coconut oil. That is just to get the nutrients in and for the flavor of it. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. If you want to decrease your amounts, you can do that as well. It's whatever's up to you. Again, do this on whatever level you want to start with and whatever way you want to do it. But there's a purpose for everything, and you can reap whatever health benefits comes from whatever you put into it. So you're going to add the butter in, you're going to add in the coconut oil while it's still warm, mix it around, and then you're going to fill your mason jars. Now, since we're going to have that second pot coming, it's going to be weaker, so I want to mix it with my first pot, so I'm pretty symmetrical and even. Honestly, a big part of it's because of the flavor too. You want it to all taste the same. Drinking the bone broth from the second batch is not quite as good as the first batch, I'll promise you that. So I mix the two together. So I take my mason jars. If I'm making soup, I'll use the bigger mason jars. If I'm using it for drinking in the mornings and stuff, I use my small ones. So I fill them halfway full. I let them sit on the counter until they hit room temperature. And then I put them in the fridge. If you want to freeze your jars, make sure you're only filling to right below the point where your mason jar starts to curve in. There are jars that stay straight up and down, but you still want to keep it on the lower end. And then you're going to put them in the refrigerator when they're at that point. Once they have gotten cold in the refrigerator, then you can transfer them to the freezer, but make sure your lids are not on tight. That will help keep your mason jars from cracking and breaking. On occasion, I do still have it happen, but I found that that's a good rule of thumb, is to make sure I go from countertop to refrigerator and then to freezer. So I'm going to start to fill, since I only have 2 pots, I'm going to fill my mason jars up halfway, and then I'm going to wait for my next pot to be done, and then I will fill it up with my second batch of it, and my bone broth will be completed. So I hope you guys give this recipe a shot. I hope you try it. I hope you love it. Again, when you go to drink it, add salt to it to taste. I always add salt when I go to drink it, so then I can add as much as I want or as little as I want. And I just hope you guys enjoy it. It'll taste like the most amazing chicken noodle soup you ever had, and the health benefits we reap from it will be absolutely amazing. If you want to learn more about the health benefits, go ahead and Google, do some research, or if you want us to do a video here, put a comment down below and Lance and I will do a video on the health benefits, how it's helped us, how it's improved our lives. It has made a tremendous difference in the way we feel and how much energy we have and the way we're breaking our fasts in the morning and just our gut health and so many other areas. So if you want us to share that, put a comment down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave those in the comments below. Again, like this video, subscribe to our channel for sure, and leave us a comment. All right, hope you enjoyed this. Thanks. Bye.